My initial interest in O'Neill many years ago focused on his use of drinking and alcoholism in his plays. Since Beyond the Horizon is one of the few plays in his canon in which there is no drinking, and I generally found it to be overly melodramatic, when teaching and writing about O'Neill, I have habitually used his next Pulitzer Prize winner, Anna Christie, as the bridge from the early sea plays to his experimental middle period, ignoring Beyond the Horizon. Then last winter during the pandemic, I was planning to teach a Zoom course on O'Neill and family function and dysfunction to senior lifelong learners. And as always, in my original syllabus, I had chosen Anna Christie as the first full-length family play to discuss in advance of the later family plays. Around the same time, Beyond the Horizon was the play of the month for an online O'Neill discussion group I had joined. After rereading and discussing the play with the online group, I discovered for the first time the richness of O'Neill's early attempt at tragedy. And I realized that, in spite of its shortcomings, too melodramatic, contrived, overwritten at times, it reveals a great deal about the fledgling playwright's lofty goals as a dramatist. In fact, it provides more and even richer material for the family theme of my course than Anna Christie does. So I replaced Anna Christie with Beyond the Horizon. As any good teacher knows, the best way to learn something is to teach it. And so by teaching the play last year, I discovered the many virtues of Beyond the Horizon, including the bold experiment with structure involving alternating indoor and outdoor settings, voluminous, often eloquently descriptive stage directions, and the compelling ways in which O'Neill explored many of the themes that inform so much of his later, more fully developed drama. The play that many regard as the first American tragedy marks the dramatist's struggle to transform the plot-centric melodrama of his father's theater with which he was so familiar to a more character-centric, realistic drama like that of the European dramatists with whom he had become enamored. Like those dramatists, Ibsen and Strindberg in particular, O'Neill turned to the family as the setting for the most basic of human interactions and existential struggles, drawing on the family dynamics that haunted him throughout his life. Their sibling rivalry, meeting or disappointing parental expectations, marital tensions and conflicts, including those involving money, and the guilt and regret about the marital path not taken. Among the interesting dynamics in Beyond the Horizon, the one that stands out to me as emblematic of O'Neill's dramaturgical audacity at the time is the in-law relationship. In Mrs. Atkins, O'Neill has created a prototypical nagging mother-in-law. And her relationship with her son-in-law and her daughter in the context of their marriage is a realistic feature of Beyond the Horizon that moves well beyond the melodrama of O'Neill's time. O'Neill goes a step further, though, delving into the relationship between the mothers of Robert and Ruth. Now, there is no word for this relationship in English, but there is a word for it in the Yiddish language. That word is macha tunim. The beginning of Act 2, Scene 1 of Beyond the Horizon is a scene for the macha tunim, which is important not for moving the plot forward, but for deepening the portrayal of the central characters and the tragic circumstances of their lives, thus enriching the audience's understanding of and sympathies with the three central characters. In this scene, Mrs. Atkins attacks Mrs. Mayo's son Robert as the cause of her daughter's woes, and Mrs. Mayo, aware of the role that her misbegotten son has played in determining the sad fate of the couple, still naturally comes to the defense of her son. An early version, by the way, of Essie Miller in Our Wilderness, and like Essie, a stark contrast to O'Neill's own mother as depicted in Long Day's Journey into Night. O'Neill's depiction of the mothers of the central characters contributes to the ambivalence an audience feels towards those characters. While it is difficult not to agree with Mrs. Atkins' critique of her son-in-law's behavior, it is equally difficult not to sympathize with Mrs. Mayo's defense of her son. It is a subtly comic scene that relies on actors conveying subtext. It brings to mind many comic scenes in the popular public television series Downton Abbey between mothers-in-law Violet Crawley, played by Dame Maggie Smith, and Isabel Grey, played by Penelope Wilton. It is indeed an early sign of O'Neill's ability to see the loyalties inherent in even the most tortured of family relationships. This paradoxical dynamic is the source of irony and humor within the family that is non-existent in some of his dark middle-period family dramas, such as Desire Under the Elms and Morning Becomes Electra, but delightfully informs all of his final family plays, from the more comic Our Wilderness through the final darker autobiographical tragedies, Long Day's Journey into Night, and A Moon for the Misbegotten, making these plays all the more compelling for their realistically insightful depiction of human nature. In Beyond the Horizon, a A tragic hero dies, knowing that he made the wrong choice in trying to escape his natural instinct to go to sea and explore life's mysteries beyond the horizon. And his brother lives to try to make things right, even though it is too late. Although the story sometimes gets bogged down by long-winded speeches and melodramatic turns of events, yet it is rooted in a profoundly realistic depiction of family dynamics, including a mother who will defend her sons in spite of the truth, and a mother-in-law who won't let her son-in-law or his mother forget about his bad choices. I now have a renewed interest in seeing the O'Neill Foundation's film production of Beyond the Horizon, and I'm especially eager to see its take on the Machatunum scene.